And in the meantime, we have this alert for you as well. Did Eric Holder personally sign off on the investigation into Fox News? That is a big question this morning, as the president calls on the Justice Department to investigate itself. That's also getting a lot of attention. We start a brand new hour now of America's Newsroom. Glad to have you with us, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum.
And I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning at home. There are many new questions this morning on the involvement of the Attorney General. The Justice Department seizing telephone records from the AP and a Fox News correspondent, James Rosen. The president saying that he is troubled by the leak investigations.
I've raised these issues with the Attorney General, who shares my concerns. So he's agreed to review existing Department of Justice guidelines governing investigations that involve reporters. And he'll convene a group of media organizations to hear their concerns as part of that review.
So then, Doug McElway leads our coverage on this, the review, the investigation, what happens next. Do we know that the Attorney General signed off on this search warrant?
Bill, that would normally be the process. The Department of Justice guidelines are really quite clear about subpoenaing members of the media. Here's what those guidelines say, at least in part. Quoting, the Attorney General's authorization is normally required before the issuance of any subpoena to a member of the news media or for the telephone toll records of a member of the news media. You might recall that in the case of the DOJ obtaining the telephone records of the Associated Press, Eric Holder said that he recused himself. In an interview with NPR in mid-May, he was much less specific about whether he signed off on the search warrant for James Rosen.
I'm not sure how many of those cases that I have actually signed off on. I take them very seriously. I know that I have refused to sign a few, pushed a few back for modifications.
If the NBC report is true, we have no reason to doubt it. It puts the administration in a very peculiar place. The president has asked his Attorney General, as we just saw, for a review, meaning, in effect, the Attorney General will have to review the Attorney General.
Wow. So the U.S. Attorney who sought the search warrant, Doug, against James Rosen, our colleague, is defending his decision. What is he saying?
The U.S. Attorney, he's the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Ronald C. Machen, put out a statement earlier this week, and in it he said, quote, we did not wiretap the phones of any reporter or news organization, nor did we monitor or track the phone calls of any reporters' parents. No records were obtained from the computer servers of any news organization, end quote. But that statement omitted the fact that emails from Rosen's personal Gmail account were obtained, as were details from his cell phone and his parents' phone indicating who they called, what calls were received, as well as time and duration of the calls. Yesterday, Fox News Chairman and CEO Roger Ailes weighed in on the controversy, messaging all Fox News employees, quote, the administration's attempt to intimidate Fox News and its employees will not succeed, and their excuses will stand neither the test of law, the test of decency, nor the test of time. He added, we will not allow a climate of press intimidation unseen since the McCarthy era to frighten any of us away from the truth. Bill?
Not a high crime, a high honor. Doug, thank you. Doug McElway in Washington. Martha.
Well, President Obama also saying that he is extremely concerned about the targeting of journalists. Here he is.
Troubled by the possibility that leak investigations may chill the investigative journalism that holds government accountable.
Well, the president says he's worried about that, and a lot of people are asking a lot of questions this morning. Chris Wallace is the anchor of Fox News Sunday and joins me now. Chris, you know, I mean, it's an actions versus words question for the administration on this to some extent.
Yeah, and let me begin with the question of whether or not Eric Holder signed off. Now, I don't know, and the only reporting we have is from NBC News, which has pretty good sources at the Justice Department. They say he did sign off. Here's the reason to think that he might have in this case as opposed to the AP case. In the AP case, he was, in fact, one of the subjects of investigation. He was interviewed by the FBI as to whether or not he had leaked some of the information in the AP story. There was never any suggestion that he was interviewed or a target of that investigation, and so there would seem to be no logical reason why he wouldn't have signed off in the James Rosen case, and no reason he would have recused himself. So I think it's more than likely that he did get involved in that, and that, of course, raises the question as to the president now giving him this order to review the Justice Department guidelines, to meet with media groups, and to report back by mid-July. And it does seem to be a case of, you know, Eric Holder will investigate what Eric Holder did.
I mean, how can you do that? And what comes next? I mean, what avenue would there be to say that that doesn't wash?
Well, the media, that's one of the reasons it's so important that there be no efforts to fetter, to prevent us from doing what we do. So that's what we're doing right now in expressing concerns about that. Obviously, I think there are going to be some people in Congress will be talking about it on Fox News Sunday. This whole question as to if they're going to be investigating reporters and getting their phone records and getting their emails and perhaps their parents' phone records. I suspect that you're going to see other people putting pressure on the administration, not only not to do it, but also if you're going to have an investigation, should it be an independent group that investigates it? I don't know that this rises to the level of a special prosecutor, because in this case they had an affidavit, they went to a judge and they got approval, so I'm not sure that it's illegal in any way, but it certainly raises questions about propriety.
I mean, it's possible that Eric Holder may say, and I'm just putting this out there, that it was procedure, that yes, he did sign off on this. But the question of the criminal charges that are part of this as well, the aider, abettor, and co-conspirator part of this, that has raised a lot of eyebrows, and even in a more significant way, and whether or not he knew about that part of this and encouraged it or moved that along is also a big question, isn't it, Chris?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, no reporter has been charged with a crime for receiving information, for doing his job. I mean, you can argue whether we should or we shouldn't, but the fact is that reporters don't take an oath, are not bound by these laws. It's the people who get the classified information inside the government. Now, in fairness, I don't know that there was ever any indication that they were going to criminally charge James Rosen. There was a lot of very inflammatory language in the Justice Department documents about aider, abettor, co-conspirator, flight risk, all of which, quite frankly, is nonsense. But that was really an effort just simply to get the search warrant from the judge. So it was a high-flown rhetoric and probably inflammatory rhetoric, but I don't think that James Rosen was ever the subject of a criminal investigation.
All right. I know you're going to be talking about the IRS story as well, and we've learned today that Lois Lerner is on paid leave for who knows how long that's going to go on. Do you think it's likely that Congress will work hard to bring her back to that table again?
Oh, there's no question she'll be brought back to the table. Darrell Issa, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, has said that he made a mistake when he dismissed her, and that he believes that when she made her statement that she was not guilty of any crime, she waived her Fifth Amendment rights. Now, I will tell you, there are a lot of independent legal experts in this town, and they deal with these questions of people taking the Fifth Amendment, who say that kind of a general statement of I did nothing wrong doesn't waive the Fifth Amendment right. Ultimately, this is going to go to a judge. I mean, how this would play out is Lois Lerner would come back, she would be asked these questions, she would refuse to answer them, she would be held in contempt, and then they would have to go to a judge who would have to rule whether or not. So this is going to take some time.
And there's some thinking that if that happens, she would not be allowed to accept that paid leave. So we'll see how it all develops. Chris, thank you very much. We'll be watching this Sunday, of course, when you will be having the folks on the screen here. Democratic Senator Dick Durbin is on the show this weekend, and South Carolina Republican Lindsey Graham, who has been very outspoken on all of these issues, will be there this Sunday, as will former Senator we will honor the legacy of former Senator Bob Dole, and World War II veteran. He will join Chris Sunday as well. Looking forward to that.
On Memorial Weekend, appropriate enough.
So what do you think? Who should be investigating the White House scandals? Should the DOJ investigate the DOJ in these journalism cases? Send us a tweet at Bill Hemmer or at Martha McCallum. We want to know what you're thinking about this morning on a Friday.